Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. Today I will be reacting to this top 100 French films list on Letterboxd. But a quick update before I get into the list. So if you watched my I'm Back video, I mentioned that I had a surgery recently and I was in the hospital for a few days. But now I have some complications from that surgery, so I'm gonna go back to the hospital tomorrow morning to show a couple of things to a doctor to see what kind of treatment I need. So in case this is my last video for a while, that's probably the reason because I'm currently very much enjoying being back to YouTube. So I want to make more videos this week and in the coming weeks. But in case those health issues prevent me from doing videos, I just want to let you guys know that if I'm not around soon, that's probably the reason. But this checkup with the doctor, it shouldn't be anything that serious, so I probably can make videos normally. But anyway, let's get into the list. So I have seen 69 films out of 100, so I've seen less of this list than I had with the Japanese films list. And I have had a look at this list very quickly, but I didn't look at it like properly, so I don't really remember much about the list other than like some of the very top ones. But let's go through the eligibility rules again before we get into the list itself. Although this really saddens me already that Vivre sa vie is out. It used to be on the list, but of course, I mean, Vivre sa vie should be on a top 100 French films list. And The Aviator's Wife, I'm a big Rome fan, so that's a bit sad as well. But there is a 1,000 minimum ratings threshold. Films must have France listed as one of their countries of production, focusing primarily on French films in the French language. Films must be feature length, more than 40 minutes long, with a festival premiere, theatrical distribution, or professional streaming release. This list excludes documentaries of any kind, self released web videos, DTV films, recap or recut films, theater or stage shows, TV series or TV movies, specials or episodes. Yeah. But here we have the top 10, which is pretty interesting. A lot to like here, but also some things that I disagree with. But the number one, I think, is bit surprising, even though it's a great film and it's a big classic. But it's a great prison movie from 1960. Yeah, I think this is one of the best prison movies I've ever seen. Although there is a prison movie on this top 10 that I like even more. But this is definitely one of the best of the genre. And I think it definitely should be on a best French films list. But should it be number one? Yeah, I wouldn't put it number one personally. I think you can make an argument that it should be the top 10 or top 20, but I think number one is a bit too much. Although it's a pretty solid choice still, so I'm not angry that it's number one, but I probably wouldn't have put it number one myself. And this is not surprising. We have La Haine here, number two. Very popular movie. Most people love it. I've only seen it once quite a long time ago, maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And I like the film, but I didn't get the hype for it. And the word that comes to mind every time I see this movie, like mentioned somewhere, is obnoxious. Like that was the kind of impression that the film left to me, even though I thought that it was a well-made movie, but it's not something that really connected with me, and it's not something that I like that much, but it's definitely a good movie. But I think it shouldn't be this high, but I expected it to be very high because it's so popular. Well, these of course should be very high. The Passion of Joan of Arc, a great masterpiece. I mean, one of the best silent films of all time, one of the best films of all time. So great to see it here, so high. Then I've of course been famous for saying that uh, I'm not the biggest fan of this film. It's portrait of a lady on fire by Celine Sciamma. Very popular movie, and I like the movie. I don't hate it or anything, but I don't get the hype for it. It's kind of like with La Haine. It's a film that's clearly a good film, but I just don't connect with it that much. Even though I'm the target audience for this film, definitely, but still I didn't like it. I think it's mainly because the characters were so like cold-blooded to me that I couldn't really feel any emotion from watching the film. Yeah, that's the main thing about it. I think I disliked, but now at this point it has been such a long time since I watched it because I watched it, I think, fairly shortly after it was released. So I need to watch it again and see if I like it more now because my taste has definitely developed since that. Then we have Jean-Pierre Melville's best film, Army of Shadows, at number 5. Yeah, I think this is a good place for it. It's an absolute masterpiece. One of the best war-related films ever. One of the best kind of thrillers ever. I think some of the best cinematography ever. So yeah, it's an incredible movie. So I think it should be in the top 10. I would also have it somewhere in the top 10. So this is actually very close to where I would put it. So yeah. Then the next one is very deserved as well. It's Costa Gabra's film Z, another one that I haven't watched recently, but remember loving this a lot and thinking that it's a masterpiece and it's a very important film. So I think definitely top 10 placement is a good for it. But then this one is of course a big classic, The Wages of Fear, which is a really good movie. It's not necessarily my type of movie, but of course it's very important, very popular, very acclaimed. So even though it's not like in my personal taste, uh, I think it should be very high on the list. Yeah, so I don't mind seeing it here. Well, I already mentioned that this is my favorite prison movie out of these two here, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a big Bresson fan, so I definitely want to see lots of Bresson on this list, as he might be the greatest French director, although there are so many French directors that I love. So yeah, he is definitely in the conversation for that. So glad to see it here. Of course, we can argue which Bresson film should be number one. I mean, I think this is a good candidate, but there are also several other good candidates. Then we have Three Colors Red, which is of course a masterpiece by Kieslowski, my favorite out of the Colors trilogy. So I think this definitely should be on the list and it should be very high. So I think it's good. Yeah. Well, this is one of the absolute greatest musicals of all time. It's The Young Girls of Rochefort by Jacques Demy. I'm glad to have a Demy film so high. I'm such a big fan, and I've watched this film multiple times, and it keeps getting better each time. So I'm glad to have it here, even though I prefer the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. But this is very close to the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and I think in terms of uh, quality of film, I think they are as good as each other. So yeah, well, let's check the top 20 now. Yeah, we have La Commune by Peter Watkins. Still haven't seen this one, but it has been something that I'm really excited to watch. But I need to be in the right headspace for it. Yeah, but I think that it's probably gonna be a great film as Peter Watkins films tend to be. And then we of course have the 400 Blows, which might be my favorite Truffaut, but I'm not the biggest Truffaut fan. But of course, this film should be very high on this list, and probably it should be on the top 10 for how influential and popular and acclaimed it is. But number 12 is pretty good for it. Then we have Children of Paradise. I remember in some lists in the past, this has been seen as the greatest film of all time, which I don't agree with, but it's a great movie and definitely should be in the top 20. I think number 13 is a good place for it. Then this one I haven't seen, Asur and Asmar, The Prince's Quest, so I can't comment. Rififi, a big heist film classic. I watched this very long time ago. I liked it back then, but heist films, like I've said a million times on this channel, it's one of my least favorite subgenres of cinema. So this film, while I think it's great and well made, it's not necessarily my personal favorite, but I think it should be somewhere on the list. So yeah. Then we have Napoleon by Abel Gans at number 16. I think a good spot for it. One of the best silent films, an incredible achievement. Definitely should be on the list. And yeah, good spot for it. Then this one I still haven't seen. A big blind spot. The Lovers on the Bridge. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. Then we have Haneke's Amour, definitely one of his best films, and doesn't feel as condescending and obnoxious as some of his other films do. So this is a great film. I don't think it should be this high, but I could see it being on the list. Then we have Le Samurai by Melville. I think his second best film after Army of Shadows, and definitely should be on the list. Number 19, I think, is a pretty good spot. Then we have The Man Who Sleeps. Again, another great movie that feels very French. I think it's also worthy to be on the list. Should it be this high? I don't know. Maybe, but could be maybe a bit lower as well. Then the next 10, lots of great stuff here, and couple films that I haven't seen. So we have our first Jacques Rivette film, La Belle Noiseuse. So this is the highest ranked Jacques Rivette, and it's one of his masterpieces, one of my favorites from him. It's not my number one, but I can see why it would be number one, as it is a bit more accessible than some of his other films, and as it is just so good. So I'm really happy to see it here. Then we have another Melville film. Melville seems to be quite popular here, so we have Le Cercle Rouge, definitely one of his best films. So yeah, I think it should be on the list. Should it be this high? I wouldn't have it quite this high, but it should be on the list. This one I haven't seen yet. I know it's a very popular movie, but I can't comment. Well, this one of course should be on the list and probably even higher. It's Grand Illusion by Renoir. Saw this one in the cinema. A great classic. So yeah, but it probably should be the top 10. Then this one I also haven't seen. Au revoir les enfants by Louis Malle, a big blind spot of mine. But Louis Malle films, of course, should be on the list. So I think that's probably a worthy film to be on the list. Then we have Jacques Tati's Playtime, the best Tati film I have seen. Although Tati, I'm not a huge fan of him for some reason. But this film, I love it aesthetically, but I don't get that much more from it. So yeah, but of course it should be on the list. Yeah, this one I haven't seen. My Life as a Zucchini. Well, Amelie is of course like one of the most popular ones that even people who don't watch uh, non-English language cinema usually watch this one. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it myself. I think it's a good movie, but I don't see why it's so highly regarded. Then Truffaut's Day for Night definitely also might be my favorite Truffaut. It's between 400 Blows, Day for Night, and Jules at Jim. Yeah, I need to rewatch them. Then I will probably know which one is my favorite. But yeah, I think it should be on the list. Then we have Diabolique, of course, a big classic that most people who watch French films know, and another very worthy film to be on the list. And I think number 30 is a pretty good spot for it. Then the next 10, I haven't seen this one, A Prophet, but of course I know of it and I need to watch it. The Fire Within, I think the best Louis Malle film, so I'm glad to see it here. It's a masterpiece. Well, this one of course should be here. It's Celine and Julie Go Boating. Rivet's most famous work. So definitely should be here. I think many people would probably argue that it should have been higher than La Belle Noiseuse, but I prefer La Belle Noiseuse to this. Then we have my favorite Agnes Varda film, Cleo from 5 to 7. A complete masterpiece, one of the best films of the Nouvelle Vague. So definitely should be on the list and probably should be a bit higher. I'm a big fan of this film as well. It's The Mother and the Whore by Jean Eustache. Such a masterpiece, absolutely incredible. A film, although obnoxious in some ways, but I think in a good way. Yeah, definitely should be on the list. 35 is a pretty good spot for it. Princess or Princes and Princesses, yeah, haven't seen that. Ernest and Celestine, haven't seen that. So you can see that I haven't seen that many French animated movies, so that's a big blind spot for me. Then we have The Green Ray, one of Rome's most popular films and also one of my favorites, definitely should be here. And another Rome masterpiece, My Night at Maud's. Yeah, both are among his best works. Then we have Agnes Varda's Jacques de Nantes, the film that he or that she made about Jacques Demy. Haven't seen it, but I've been meaning to watch it for a long time. Yeah. Then one of my absolute favorites, Hiroshima Mon Amour by Alain René, written by Marguerite Duras. Yeah, I think this should be uh, even higher. I think it should be in the top 20. So, but I'm still glad that it's on the list. Yeah. Three Colors Blue should be on the list. My second favorite out of the Three Colors films. Yeah. Then this is pretty offensive that The Intouchables is higher than The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Like, I mean, that's absolutely crazy. Although it's interesting that this was the first French movie that I ever watched, I think, and then we have my favorite movie of all time next to it. Yeah, but Intouchables, I mean, it's a fun Hollywood type film, very sentimental, but yeah, fun to watch. And back then, I was a huge fan of those sentimental Hollywood-esque movies, so I loved it back then. But now I don't love it as much. But still, it's a decent movie. But The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is way better. And anybody who knows anything about cinema would agree with that. I think, yeah. Solemne's story. This is a very recent film. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to watch it. Then we have a couple of Varda films. We have Le Bonheur, a very good Varda film. This one I like even better. One sings, the other doesn't. Yeah, this is definitely top tier Varda, but I'm glad to see more Varda here because she's so great. She made so many great films and so many different types of great films. So yeah, but this is a very big blind spot of mine. It's The Diving Bell and Butterfly, a very popular and very well liked movie, but I haven't seen it for some reason. Yeah. Then we have Beau Travail by Claire Denis. Yeah, love this film. It definitely should be on the list. I usually struggle with Denis films, but this one I love a lot. Then we have Anatomy of a Fall, a very recent acclaimed film that I still haven't seen. Well, the next one is an absolute masterpiece. It's The Double Life of Veronique. Yeah, my favorite Kieslowski film. Yeah, great. Then last year at Marienbad by Alain René. Of course, it should be on the list. Then one of Bresson's best films, Diary of a Country Priest. So glad to see more Bresson. I think this is the second highest Bresson, if I'm not missing something. We had The Man Escaped in the top 10, and now we have Diary of a Country Priest. I don't think people would usually rank this as the second best Bresson movie, but I'm a big fan of it, so I don't mind it. Vagabond is often one of Varda's most acclaimed and most popular films, and I also like the movie. Yeah. Then Elevator to the Gallows, a big classic, which I like, but I didn't love it. But I need to watch it again. I watched it when I was very inexperienced as a cinephile. Then we have another Celine Sciamma movie, Petite Maman. Just like with Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I thought it was a good movie, but it didn't do much for me. But yeah, The Summer's Tale, one of Gome's best films. Roger Kirby just made a video on this recently, so check that out. But a great movie, definitely should be on the list. Yeah, this is a great Jacques Rivette film. I didn't expect it to be on the list, but I'm glad to see it. So it's up, down, fragile, not an easy movie. Although it's very charming, beautiful to look at, but the narrative can be a bit challenging. Yeah. The Count of Monte Cristo from 2024, obviously a very famous classic book by Dumas, and it has been adapted many times, but this is again the one from 2024, but I haven't seen it. All Your Faces, haven't seen that one, and I don't really remember what this film was about, so have no idea what it is even about. So yeah, then we have Certified Copy, a great Kiarostami movie, yeah, one of his best later works. Then we have Orpheus, which of course should be on the list, huge classic. Forbidden Games, really good movie. I think quite influential as well, so definitely should be on the list. Black Girl is incredible film, very important film. So yeah, I think it is a worthy film to be on the list again. So like lots of great films on the list so far, but maybe the order is a bit weird at some points, and of course some films I haven't seen, so I can't say whether they should be on the list. And yeah, some weird choices, but overall pretty good list. Then we have Beauty and the Beast. This is of course a huge classic, often very highly rated in greatest of all time lists and stuff. And 65 is actually quite low for it, I think. So maybe it should be quite a bit higher, but at least it's on the list. Little Emily or the character of Rain, haven't seen that one. Well, now we have O Hazard Balthazar, of course. This is often the one that's the highest rated. Bresson, and sometimes Pickpocket is the highest rated, but yeah, this was the one that made me fall in love with Bresson. So it's a very important film for me. Really love it. I'm glad to see it on the list, but I think it should be way higher. Yeah, Les Miserables. This is from 1934. Of course, this is another classic book that has been adapted into films so many times, but this is the 34 adaptation again. So yeah, The Earrings of Madame De, a huge classic, a great movie. Should be on the list. Could be even higher. State of Siege, I haven't seen yet, but I've heard many great things about that, so I want to watch it. Then some interesting stuff here. So we have La Cérémonie by Claude Chabrol. Yeah, Chabrol is a director. I haven't watched that many films by him, maybe only 4 films, and he has a pretty gigantic filmography. But this is one of the ones that I have seen, and yeah, it might even be my favorite. Yeah, probably is. Yeah, great stuff. And this is quite late into his career, but he was still doing good work then. Then we of course have probably might be the most challenging film to watch out of the whole list. It's Out One by Jacques Rivette. 13 hours of weirdness and craziness. Lots of theater, like theater rehearsals, and lots of moments where nothing happens, but it's a masterpiece still. Yeah, but not for the faint of heart. Boyfriends and Girlfriends by Romain. Yeah, like I said in a recent video, I love this film a lot. One of Romain's best. But I mean, Romain has so many films that are among his best. So, but yeah, this is one of them. So glad to see it on the list. This is my favorite Haneke film, The Piano Teacher, an absolute masterpiece. Yeah, so if you haven't gotten into Haneke yet, definitely start with this one, I would say. Yeah, but glad to have it here. The Summit of the Gods, I haven't seen. The Rules of the Game by Renoir. I mean, 76 is very low. I think many people would argue that this should be the top 10. I mean, some people might even argue it should be number one. I wouldn't say number one, but I think it should be the top 10 or at least in the top 20. But at least it's on the list. Yeah. Jean de Florette, haven't seen that one yet, unfortunately, but want to watch it. Cache, another Haneke that's quite good, I think. Yeah. Mouchette, yeah, one of the best Bressons, definitely should be on the list. Well, I'm really glad to see this one here. I've of course tried to champion this quite often on my channel. I think it's sadly fairly unknown film, but it's an absolute masterpiece by Jean-Claude Briseux. Yeah, it's very Romerian in some ways, but it adds some kind of magical elements there, like very low-key magical elements. Yeah, and whimsical elements, you could say. Yeah. Then Manon of the Spring. Sadly, haven't seen that one either. This one is a big blind spot too. I accuse by Abel Gans. Looking forward to watching it though. Then one of my absolute favorite Romer films, Four Adventures of Reinette and Mirabel. Yeah, I'm glad to see that there is quite a few Romer films here. And they are also all been ones that I agree with, like they've all been among my favorite Romers too. So yeah, Mon Oncle. Just like I said, I'm not the biggest Jacques Tati fan, but I of course understand that his films are here. Well, this film I finally watched this year for the first time back in February, I think. I had wanted to see this one for a long time, but finally had the chance to watch it. So it's a Man and a Woman, a French New Wave classic. I like the film a lot. I think it's a bit style over substance, but it's such a beautiful film, and I love the soundtrack. And I ended up even saving the soundtrack because I want to listen to it on its own. But I definitely think it should be on the list. But yeah, I think this spot is actually pretty good for it. So yeah, yeah, this is a big blind spot of mine, Soleil. Oh, but I'm looking forward to watching it, and I have it ready to go. So just need to be in the right mood. The King and the Mockingbird, haven't seen that one. Well, this one I always talk about, City of Pirates by Raul Ruiz. Yeah, I love this film a lot. One of my like top 20 favorites. Yeah, one of my absolute favorite experimental, surreal type of films. So glad to see it here. This one I've really wanted to see. It's US Go Home, but I haven't watched it yet. Every time I've seen it somewhere, it has been in bad quality, so that's why I haven't watched it yet. Marona's Fantastic Tale, haven't seen that one. And the Final 10, some interesting stuff here, quite a few that I haven't seen. Vieja Le Fou, one of Godard's best films, so of course it should be on the list and it should be like at least 50 spots higher. Love in the Afternoon, so the great Rome streak continues because this is an absolute masterwork, one of his best. I think probably the second best of the Six Moral Tales. I think My Night at Maud's, which was also on the list, that's probably the best Six Moral Tale, and this is the second best. Yeah. The Chorus, haven't seen that one. The Triplets of Belleville, haven't seen that one. Yeah, I really need to start watching these French animated movies. Hiriko and the Sorceress. Yeah. And my knowledge also out of these films is like very like non-existent basically, so I don't really know what to expect from these films, even though I know that France is a very important country for animation, but it's just a blind spot of mine. So yeah. And even though Jacques Rivette is one of my absolute favorites, this one I actually haven't seen, even though I think many Jacques Rivette fans consider this to be one of his best films, L'amour fou. And I was just earlier today thinking that I finally need to watch this one, so because it sounds like a film that I'm gonna love. So yeah, Mr. Klein or Monsieur Klein, yeah, great movie starring Alain Delon. Yeah, I think it's a worthy film to be on the list. Yeah, I wouldn't have it like very high, but as it is here towards the end, I think that's a pretty good spot for it. Purple Moon, love this film a lot, so I'm glad to see it on the list. Could be maybe a little bit higher, but I don't think it should be like on the very top either. So yeah, I'm glad that it made it here. Then this one I haven't seen, Nier Oruet, so can't comment. Well, Fantastic Planet I have seen, and of course it should be on the list, a big classic and a great movie. But that was the top 100. Let me know what you think. Of course, I think most of the like great directors were here at least with one film, and many of them were here with many films like Romain and Rivette and Bresson. Renoir had a couple of films. We had some Kieslowski, who is not a French director, but anyway, some Alain René, Louis Malle, Melville, Abel Gance, Haneke featured quite a lot, some Truffaut. So I think overall a pretty good list. Although with those animated ones, because I haven't seen them, I can't really say how great those are and whether they are the best animated films from France. So I need to look into that later on. But pretty solid list. Of course, quite safe and boring also in some ways. And it's also lacks a lot of my personal favorite French films. I think it included all of my favorite French directors, but not all my favorite films from them. So yeah, but lots of my favorites were here. But yeah, let me know how many you have seen from the list, and let me know what you think of these films and what were some big omissions. Yeah, and like I said in the beginning, if you don't hear from me or see videos from me for a while, it's probably because I'm recovering from these side effects from my previous surgery. But again, I feel fine now, and I probably will just get some antibiotics for an infection, and it probably will be fine. And I'll just recover, but can do normal things, and I can do videos. But there's always a small chance that it's something more serious and that I won't be able to make videos. But I felt like I'll just mention that here in case something happens. But we'll see what happens. So yeah. But thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.